All right, welcome to the Firecracker Dress by Annalee. There will be, we have the dress or the romper in our sew along, and there will be a separate video on the romper on how to get it started before attaching the back straps. But if you are doing the back straps, you'll have to refer to this video because this is where I'm going to be doing the assembling of the back straps. Okay, so I have all my pieces cut. My front bodice, my two mirrored back straps, my back piece, my back skirt piece, my neckband, and my armbands. I just clip my neck and armbands to the pattern piece so I don't lose them and go searching for them all the time. Okay, so we are going to get started. I'm going to set my back bodice aside for now, and because we will be doing that on a different day in a different video. Okay, so starting with my back straps, you are just going to take your front bodice and your straps and pin them. And then we will take them to the serger or sewing machine. If you don't have a serger, that is fine. You just need to make sure that you're using some sort of stretch stitch on your machine. It can be a lightning bolt, it can be a zigzag, whichever one that that you like. Okay, so let me move over here. Okay, so we will get our shoulder seams here. And remember, we're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. Back to our cutting table here. Okay, I am actually, forgot to set up. I'm gonna go and grab my iron and my tabletop ironing board. Just a second. Okay, I am back and I have my iron. The reason why I stopped and grabbed my iron is because I always like to press as I go. Just makes for a nicer finished garment here. Okay, so have my shoulder seams all pressed, and now we are going to start on our armbands. Okay, so on the armbands, on the pattern piece, you need to remember to make sure that you marked your notch for your arm, and then for the back strap, you need to make sure you mark your notches for your shoulder seam. And so I did that with just a little slice here. I just cut a little notch in the pattern. And on that little notch is where you want to place your shoulder seam. So you just pin it here. And then the short end goes towards the front bodice. or your arm side, and then you just pin it, and then you do the same going down along your back strap and pin it at the end. Now what you want to do is you do want to stretch your band to fit your back strap and everything like that. I usually just stretch it with my fingers and then hold it and then grab my clip. It's however many you're comfortable with. You for sure could put several. Because I've made this dress so much, I'm pretty comfortable with how much it stretches and it needs to stretch. So I don't normally pin it all. I just stretch in the sewing machine. Same with your arm here. You can just stretch and then grab your pin and do it that way. And then we are going to do the same thing on the other side. So find your notch. I usually just give the band a stretch till I find it. And remember, short side goes towards the front bodice, or the front of the bodice, and then the longer end goes towards the back strap. And again, if you want, you can make sure that you stretch and pin. All right, so now we're moving on to our neckband. So for the neckband, I actually marked, so you have your notches also from the pattern piece. And then I also mark the center, where the center of the neck would be. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that on my bodice here. Okay. All right. So we will get started. We'll place our shoulder pieces here, our shoulder notches. And then this is why I marked the center of the neckband, so I can just mark those up here. And then you're going to take this long strap and take it all the way to the end of the back strap. Same on the other side here. And again, the same thing applies to stretch and fit. So you would just, to stretch to fit, so you would just stretch, and then, you know, so I do it like this. I just stretch it and then add pins, just like that. Just so you know how far that you need to stretch it here. A little bit. Okay. So that's what you can do to stretch to fit. If you want to just stretch while you're sewing it, if that's what you're comfortable with, you sure can do that. Okay, before we take this over to our sewing machine, we need to make our marks because we have to stop sewing our shoulder straps and our neckband. in order to get that crossover look. And so you want to stop sewing about 1.5 to 2 inches from on your armband. So you can see this is my armband, or this is my arm. And then, so you want to mark about 1.5 inches front on the front bodice of the arm, of your arm. So I just make a mark with my pin here. That way I can just see. I mean, you can mark with a pin like this if you want. I just use a friction pin, which irons away. So that is what I do. And then we'll do it on the other side. So again, we have our arm. This is our, as you'll see, get everything. So I have so many. So here's the arm. So again, we want to make a mark about 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the edge. So from the edge here, we're going to make about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And that just, so when we are going to construct, we know where to stop. Stop sewing so we can do our crossover. And then we need to do a mark. So now we have our neckband. So here's our center neck. We have our neckband, and we need to do the same thing, making the same mark on our neckband. So it would be the top here. So we have the bottom. We don't need to worry about the bottom of the back straps, but so just the top. Again, making a mark 1.5 inches to 2 inches from the edge of our back strap on our neckband portion of our back strap. And then we'll do it on the other side of the neckband here. So again, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, little mark, and again, pin, clip, friction pin, whatever you want. Whatever you would like here. And then I also place a clip there too. Okay, so now we are ready to go on over to our sewing machine or our serger. Okay, we are going to now sew our shoulder and our neckbands on. So here you'll notice that this is an armband, so I want to make sure that I am actually starting at that 1.5 inches to 2 inches away from the edge. Sorry, I gotta get Sorry. Okay. Okay, here we go. So remember, we're stretching just the band and not the bodice or the back strap. So remember to be just stretching the band. So our shoulder seam, All right, so now we're moving on to the back strap. We're stretching. And for the armband on the back strap, when we're sewing on the back strap, we can go all the way to the end. So you don't need to stop. Okay, now we'll go to the other armband here. Okay, this is the arm or the shoulder, we want to call it. And since we're starting on the back strap end of it, we can just start right at the end. Remember to stretch as you go. And here's our shoulder seam. Okay, so now we're at the front, the bodice, and then the underarm. So we're stretching just the band. And now remember, we need to make sure that we are stopping at that 1.5 to 2 inch mark. And you'll notice that was where I put the pin, or wherever you put the mark. So I just stretch it like I'm sewing, but then I stop, lift my needle, pull. Okay, for some reason my video stopped once again. So we got through on the video on the armbands, and I just sewed the neckband on, remembering though that on each end, you're not sewing that first inch to 1.5 inches. So you'll notice my whole neckband is sewn on, but we left that open so when we cross and we attach, which we'll do now, you can see. And then I also just pressed my band. I pressed my band so it lays nice and flat. And so now what we are going to do is we are going to cross those straps. So lay your front bodice right side up, and then take whichever strap you want to be first, and match up those corners so of the opposite side. So you're crossing it over your front bodice. So now you're going to take those top corners of each piece and pin it. And we are only going to sew down again about another inch and a half, because when we still need to then, and in another video we will attach the back bodice. Okay, so making sure those straps aren't crossed over or twisted or anything like that, they're laying nice and flat. Take that other strap and cross it over to the other opposite side, and we will pin it again, only sewing down that for that top 1.5 inches or so. So we'll move over to the serger here. And remember, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, and again, when I need to stop in the middle of a fabric, I just pick my needle up and move my fabric out of the way. We will do it on the other side. Again, inch and a half or so is all you need. Okay, so now we are going to, so now we have those side seams matched up. So now we're going to take those bands and match them right side up, or right sides together, and sew those together, and then finish attaching them to the bodice and the back straps. So just right sides together, and this is why you don't sew that that last inch and a half or so. Okay, my presser foot down, and then sew that band together. Okay, so then you'll want to, again, just fold it in half, and you can pin it here if you want, but you'll just want to match up. You have your seam of your band and the seam, your side seam of your bodice and your back straps where those meet, and so you'll still have to stretch that band just a little bit to match up those seams. That's kind of going to be your match up point, so I'll show you here. Okay, we're going to start, and then you'll see I'm matching up those seams, and I'm just pulling the band. We'll sew that. Again, just pulling on the band. All right, and then just, again, lift your needle, your presser foot, and bring out that. Okay, and then now we're gonna go ahead and do the other side really quick. Just matching up that band. And then getting it sewn onto the main piece. So again, folding the band in half, putting it in your sewing machine, and matching up those seams, but just pulling the band. Okay, and then so for your ends on your serger tails, if you're using a serger, you want to secure them in some way. I just tie knots, or sometimes I just clip them off, because the maxi lock stretch after a wash kind of knots up naturally on its own, so you really don't need to. I've never had a problem or any of them come loose, so that's what I do. But you can tie a knot, you can use fray check, whatever you want to use. Okay, so we have, okay, all right, we have our front bodice and our back straps attached, but what we'll want to do is we want to grab our sewing machine. If you want to do your cover stitch, we're going to move on to top stitching. Top stitching around by the seam here to make that lie nice and flat. It's not required, but it's really recommended. It kind of makes everything lie nice and flat and everything like that. So I'm gonna go grab the sewing machine and get started on the top stitching. Okay, we're here to top stitch our firecracker. So we have our bands attached, we have our straps crossed, everything's turning out great. So what you can do, you can top stitch with a double needle, you can top stitch with your cover stitch, whatever you prefer. I'm going to top stitch today on my sewing machine just with a long straight stitch. So super simple what we're going to do. And it's so you're going to start on, so here, you know, the underarm, so you're just going to start on one of these open straps here where we haven't attached it, and just really close to that edge. So when you're top stitching, what you're going to do is just kind of keep going here, following, and what it's going to end up doing is it's just going to be in one continuous round. So you kind of get here though, so you kind of, so you see my straps kind of start getting twisted. I just kind of go around and kind of untwist and then keep going. Just kind of keep everything out of the way and just see, we're already kind of starting to come around. You'll notice that we already have that top stitching on the other side done. So notice you just kind of go in a big loop-de-loop. We're almost done here. Get untwisted here. All right. We are done with the bodice, the front bodice, and the straps. and they're all top stitched and ready to go. So now in a new video for a new day, I'm going to go ahead and I will, what I'm going to do is, you can actually just give another pressing, and if you'll notice it's kind of wavy, you give it a pressing and it'll help the fabric just to bounce back, and it'll be fine. But so we are all done. So we are actually in another video for another day. We are going to move on to finishing up our back bodice and our then we'll hem it. So we'll see you then. Thank you.